Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles. I've been with Sienna for 6 years. 6 years of what I thought was love, loyalty, and a hell of a lot of patience. And trust me, when I say patience, I'm not talking about the cute rom-com kind where you wait while she tries on 3 dresses. I mean the heavy stuff. Years of financial backing, emotional support, late-night pep talks, and pretending to believe in things I never really bought into. The wellness blog came first. I remember sitting on the couch, laptop on my lap, when she walked in with this bright, almost blinding excitement in her eyes. "Ryan," she said, bouncing on the balls of her feet like a kid who just got picked for the school play. "I'm going to start a lifestyle blog. Wellness, manifestation, crystals, clean eating, all of it." I looked up from my screen. "Okay, that's cool. You've been into that stuff for a while." "No, I mean, really do it. Like full-time. This is going to be huge. I can feel it." And so began our influencer era. She spent weeks designing logos, signing up for webinars, writing exactly 4 blog posts before burnout set in. No monetization, no followers beyond her cousins and her friend Mallory. Just a lot of lavender-infused lemon water and ring lights lying around the house. Then came the essential oils, MLM. I still remember the smell. Peppermint, eucalyptus, something called thieves. God, it made the whole apartment smell like a yoga studio run by pirates. She said it was about empowerment. "Babe, women are owning their income now. This is about financial freedom." I bit my tongue. I bought a starter kit. Crypto was the latest phase. It came out of nowhere. One night, she stayed up reading Reddit threads, and by the next morning, she was calling herself a DeFi queen. She liquidated most of what little savings she had and threw it into coins with names that sounded like Pokemon. She lost it all in 3 weeks. But I kept showing up. Mortgage me. Utilities me. Groceries me. Car payments. Me. Always me. I convinced myself I was being supportive, that loving someone meant riding out their detours, even if they kept driving, straight into ditches. Then about 2 weeks ago, things started to shift, not in a blow-up kind of way, no big fight or anything, but quiet, subtle changes that made the air in the house feel heavier. She got weirdly sigh with her phone. Her usual clinginess morphed into, I don't know, distance. She'd be sitting on the couch next to me, scrolling and smiling. And when I'd ask what was funny, she'd just say, "Oh, nothing," and turn the screen away. At first, I thought maybe she was just researching another passion project. That's usually how it started, but then she started making these comments out of nowhere. "The kitchen's kind of disgusting, don't you think?" I looked up from rinsing a plate. "I mean, it's a kitchen. It's lived in." "No, Ryan. There's like a vibe. I don't know. It's like cluttered energetically. She also started folding her laundry in the bedroom with the door closed, stopped watching shows with me at night, and every other sentence was about space to grow or finding alignment with her purpose. I thought she was building up to another venture, maybe coaching this time or tarot. Maybe she'd start selling sage. Bundles on Etsy. I didn't know, but I braced for it. And then last week it happened. She got home from her part-time gig at the boutique, hair in a messy bun, oversized sunglasses still on, and sat down at the kitchen table like she was preparing for a job interview. "Hey," she said softly, folding her hands on the table. Her voice was steady like she'd rehearsed. "Hey, what's up? I need to talk to you about something." My stomach clenched. I set down the dish towel and walked over, pulling out the chair across from her. "Okay." She looked me dead in the eye. "This is hard for me to say, but I feel like I've been shrinking in this relationship." I blinked. "Shrinking? Yes. I've been doing a lot of self-work lately, and I realized I've been suppressing who I am to keep the peace between us. Suppressing. I was the one who had been bankrolling her spiritual scavenger hunt for the last 6 years. I don't think that's fair," I said carefully. "You've always had the freedom to do what you wanted." I've supported you." She nodded like she was expecting that answer. "I know, and I appreciate it." "I do, but that's not the point. The point is, I've outgrown this version of myself and, by extension, this relationship." My jaw tightened. "So what does that mean?" She looked away, then back again. "It means I need to make space in my life for who I'm becoming." There was a long, brutal silence, but what came out of her mouth next made me feel like I'd slipped into some bizarre alternate reality. "I think we should break up," Sienna said, like she was informing me the boutique changed their return policy. No emotion, no warning, just those words. "You don't do enough around the house." I blinked. Then, God help me, I actually laughed. Not a big hearty laugh, just this stunned, almost panicked chuckle. I was waiting for the punchline, for her to crack that smug little smile she always wore when she was testing a new joke delivery format for her would-be stand-up set, but she didn't smile. She didn't even blink. "You're serious?" I asked slowly, like maybe I'd misunderstood. She nodded. "Yes, I thought about it for a while. I just feel like I do all the emotional labor in this relationship, and I'm always the one who has to point out when something needs to be done." That was when something in me cracked. Not broke. No, this wasn't a dramatic snapping moment. It was more like a fault line deep in the ground, quietly shifting. I felt it move, and I knew something fundamental had changed. I stared at her, really stared. This woman who I've essentially been fathering for 6 years, feeding, housing, encouraging, was now standing in front of me with a straight face and telling me I wasn't pulling my weight. "You're joking," I said again, flat this time. "Tell me, you're joking." She folded her arms, leaned against the kitchen counter like she was some therapist delivering tough love. "Ryan, you never clean up after yourself. You leave dishes in the sink for days because I work 10 hours a day and then come home to you scrolling through Pinterest for ways to turn mason jars into vision boards," I snapped. "That's not fair." "No. You know what's not fair? You accusing me of slacking when I've been paying for every damn thing under this roof since you started your empowerment journey." She rolled her eyes. "See, this is what I mean. You don't value the things I do. You think just because you pay bills, that's all that matters. Sienna, you don't do anything else. You reorganize the bookshelf when you're bored and call it energy work. You threw away all my Tupperware because it didn't spark joy. You literally cried when the Wi-Fi went out, and I was the one on the phone for 2 hours fixing it." She didn't even flinch. "You're blowing this way out of proportion," she said calmly, as if she were the rational one. "I just think we're in different places. I'm growing, and you're staying the same. Oh, for the love of Sienna, I have kept this place running while you tried to become a lifestyle coach, an oils boss, babe, and a crypto queen. I needed to explore those things." She interrupted. "Great," I shot back. "And I needed a partner who knew how to fill a gas tank without texting me for step-by-step instructions." Her face went cold then. That look she gets when she's decided she's the victim in a story she's writing in real time. "I think this is a good reset for both of us," she said, standing up and brushing invisible lint from her shirt. "We've outgrown each other. It's okay. You can move back in with your dad or something." And just like that, she said it like I was the one who needed to pack up and leave. Like I was some overnight guest overstaying his welcome in my own damn house. She even had the nerve to start talking about turning the guest room into an art studio once I was out of the picture, as she put it. "Oh, I've always imagined having a space to create," she said casually, leaning against the doorframe with her phone in hand. "I could do mixed media, maybe even resin. It's too hard to focus with all this tension around." Then, as if that wasn't enough, she added, "And I think I might get a cat. Finally, there won't be anyone left to complain about the fur. So, win-win." I just stood there speechless, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't trust myself to say it calmly. That's when it hit me, like a punch to the gut laced with absurdity. This woman had genuinely forgotten, or maybe never even knew, whose name is actually on the deed to this house. Spoiler alert, it's not hers. Not even close. This house was my inheritance from my grandparents. My name is the only one on the title. I'm the one who pays the property taxes, the insurance, the utilities, every mortgage payment. Me, every broken pipe, flickering light, weird basement smell, still me. Sienna has contributed exactly $0 to this place. Unless you count that. One time she bought a Himalayan salt lamp and claimed it changed the energy flow. I didn't argue. I didn't yell or correct her. I just nodded like she'd made a great point and excused myself. "Where are you going?" she asked, suspicious like I was about to run off with the fine china we don't own. "Just going upstairs," I said, walking away. "I need a minute." And then I went into our bedroom, my bedroom, and locked the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and took a breath. Not a deep one. Not one of those meditative ones she's always preaching about. Just enough to stop myself from laughing like a maniac. Because I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to try to change her mind. No, I was going to let her sit in her little delusion for as long as she wanted. Let her believe she was winning the breakup. Let her think I was the one packing up and walking out the front door with a duffel bag and sad playlist. Because the truth, she had no idea what was coming. No idea that she was about to lose everything. I've been the one paying for literally everything. Mortgage, groceries, gas, phone bills, while she's been working on herself for the better part of 3 years. And that's not even counting all the other stuff. Cooking, me. Cleaning, also me. Laundry, unless it was yoga gear or something she couldn't possibly fold wrong because it's delicate, it was me. I even handled trash day, God forbid she get her hands dirty, wheeling a bin to the curb. Meanwhile, she was lounging around in her healing robe, sipping herbal tea and calling it emotional labor. But the part that really made me feel like I was living in a Netflix parody. After the breakup, Sienna started acting like she owned the place. Not metaphorically, literally. She started walking around like some boho queen in her own personal sanctuary, leaving a trail of dirty mugs and half-burnt sage sticks in every room. She'd scroll on her phone until 4 a.m., propped on the couch with one leg tossed dramatically over the armrest like a Renaissance painting, and act like everything was just fine, like she'd already moved on, and I was just another roommate waiting to be phased out. Then came the cherry on top. She actually started telling me what I should pack and when. "If you could have your things out of the hallway closet by next week," she said, "one evening over dinner I cooked, by the way, that'd be great. I'm thinking of turning that into a meditation nook." I just nodded, chewing my food in silence, wondering what galaxy she thought we were living in. Spoiler, it went very far. About a week after the breakup, that wasn't really a breakup, at least not in any functional sense. Sienna dropped a casual little bombshell while she was reheating one of my leftover stir-fries. "I'm having a friend over tonight," she mumbled, eyes glued to her phone like she was reading sacred scripture. "Just so you know, I'd appreciate it if you could respect my space." I looked up from my laptop at the kitchen table where I was answering work emails and calculating how many more days of her delusions I could stomach before I snapped, "Respect your space." I repeated in my house. She didn't answer, just stirred her tofu with this weird level of intensity, like if she ignored me long enough, I'd evaporate into steam. "Cool," I said finally. "Have fun with your friend." I didn't ask who it was. Didn't need to. You can smell that kind of energy from a mile away. So when the doorbell rang later that evening, I beat her to it. I opened the door and there he was, Jason, tall, grinning, wearing a denim jacket over a plain white tee, holding a six-pack of craft IPA like this was some kind of casual Friday hangout. He had that easygoing charm, the kind of guy who probably played guitar at college parties and said things like, "Vibes don't lie." "Hey man," he said, "I'm looking for Sienna." I gave him a long deadpan look and finally nodded. "Yeah, come on in." I stepped aside and let him in, watching his eyes scan the place like it was a go-damn open house. She came down the stairs in that effortless, floaty way she practiced for selfies barefoot in some linen-wrapped thing like she was part of a wellness retreat. "Jason," she said, voice suddenly all breathy and high-pitched. "Come in, let me give you the tour." She barely glanced at me, didn't introduce us, just brushed past like I was the butler or worse, some vaguely tolerated Airbnb host who'd overstayed his own checkout time. Jason trailed behind her as she began the performance. "This is the living room," she said, gesturing like a real estate agent who forgot to mention the place had termites. "I've been thinking about getting a new couch in here, something more modern, you know, minimalist but cozy." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. That couch. I built it literally came in 2 flat-pack boxes, and I spent 6 hours assembling it while she reorganized her crystals. "This is the kitchen," she continued. "I love the open layout. It's great for hosting." Hosting what exactly? I wanted to ask. Half the time I cooked, she'd disappear mid-meal prep to go recenter herself because the garlic smell was too aggressive. But the best part, the part that really did me in, was when she led him down the hallway and opened the door to the spare room. "And this is my office," she said with such serene confidence, I almost applauded. "It's where I do most of my work these days." I actually had to turn away and cover my mouth because I felt a laugh coming on. Work. She hasn't had a job since 2018, the office she was referring to. That's the room I cleared out for her 2 years ago. I painted it, I assembled the desk, I even got her one of those trendy ergonomic chairs because she said sitting too long gave her bad creative energy. She used it for about a week. Now it's mostly a shrine to unused planners, half-burnt candles, and a never-ending loop of reality TV and Instagram scroll marathons. Jason was eating it up, every damn word. I could see it in his eyes as he nodded along while Sienna described her vision for the place. He was picturing himself in this cozy little Pinterest fantasy, maybe sipping oat milk lattes at our breakfast bar, maybe hanging abstract art in her office, maybe even putting his shoes up on my coffee table while they watched reality TV under dim fairy lights. Meanwhile, I stood in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, sipping my coffee, black, hot, and bitter, kind of like my mood. At that point, I had 2 clear options. Option 1, blow up. Throw the truth in their faces. Let them know exactly how ridiculous this little play of theirs was, and end the night with a shouting match that would no doubt end up in some poorly lit TikTok rant about toxic masculinity. Option 2, stay calm. Let Sienna keep living out her fantasy until the moment it all snapped. I went with the second one because, honestly, I wanted to see how far she'd go. I wanted her to dig the holes so deep she could taste the bedrock. All evening, she floated around like she'd already moved on, like she was doing me a favor by letting me linger in her space. She poured wine. She lit candles. She played soft indie music like we weren't sharing awkward tension in every square inch of the house. Then, just when I thought the night couldn't get more surreal, she pulled me aside, voice all syrupy and fake calm. "I think it's best if we start working on a timeline," she said, eyes flicking over my shoulder to where Jason was examining a stack of art books he probably didn't even know how to pronounce. "For you know when you'll be out, no rush, of course, but Jason and I need to start planning." I blinked once, twice. "Planning," I said. She gave this little smile like she was breaking bad news gently, just thinking ahead. "We're not trying to kick you out or anything. We need clarity. A housewarming party, a couple's Pinterest board, matching monogram mugs." I smiled right back at her and said, "Oh, don't worry about me, I'm handling everything." And man, the way her expression shifted, like she was already mentally redecorating the bedroom and throwing out my records. She thought she'd won. That night I barely slept, not because I was upset, but because I was counting down the hours. At 8:01 a.m., I called a locksmith. By 9:30, the locks were changed. Front, back, even the side door we never used. The locksmith was efficient, quiet, even a little amused when I tipped him double. I made myself a cup of tea, not coffee this time. I wanted something warm, something steady. When Sienna finally stumbled into the kitchen around 11 odd, hair tied, up in a messy bun, wrapped in my hoodie like she still belonged here. She didn't even say good morning, just yawned and reached for the almond milk. That's when I looked up and said, real casual, "Oh, by the way, I had the locks changed this morning." She froze. "What?" "You'll need to grab your things and be out by the end of the day." The mug slipped slightly in her hand. "Wait, what do you mean you changed the locks?" she asked, eyes going wide, voice cracking just a little. "You can't do that." "Oh, I absolutely can," I said, standing up slowly. "This is my house, remember? It's in my name. You're not on the deed. You're not on the mortgage." I stepped closer, arms crossed. "And now, you're not welcome here." She stared at me, stunned. I think the reality was just starting to dawn on her. Her face went pale. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. "You're kidding," she said weakly. I shook my head. "You can't just kick me out. I've been living here." "Rentre," I said, "for years." "You've paid for nothing, Sienna, not even the Netflix." She tried everything. First she argued, then she pleaded, then she flipped to guilt. Classic Sienna maneuvering. "I thought you loved me," she whispered. "I thought we were building something together." I didn't respond. I just stepped aside and pointed to the hallway. "Start packing." About 20 minutes later, right on schedule, the doorbell rang. Jason. He came in with the same sunny smile, expecting brunch or cuddles or God knows what. Instead, he walked into a full-blown emotional disaster. Boxes being filled, clothes strewn across the living room, and me standing there calmly sipping the tea I'd already reheated twice. Jason blinked. "What's going on?" he asked. Sienna didn't say anything. I turned to him. "You might want to help her carry some things. She's moving out." His smile faltered. "Wait, this isn't your house?" he asked, turning to Sienna like someone just revealed the magician's trick. She didn't answer, not a word. Just grabbed a duffel bag and started stuffing it with makeup, hair products, and that ridiculous ring light she never actually used for anything except posting inspirational quotes about manifesting your dream life. By early evening, she was gone. Jason, too. That night after they left, I poured myself a glass of wine. Full-bodied red, the kind Sienna used to complain, gave her headaches. I settled into the couch she once declared needed replacing, because it didn't match the aesthetic. She said it like she was some HGTV host and not someone who thought hanging a macro wall piece made her an interior designer. I sat there swirling the wine, looking around at my house, and just breathed. I thought about how close I came to losing everything, all because I was too damn generous, too patient, too willing to carry the weight of two people. Sienna always had a way of turning every we into me, and I let her for too long. Never again. That night I slept better than I had in months. And oh, just in case anyone's wondering, Sienna didn't land on her feet. She's couch surfing. A mutual friend, Lexi, filled me in. Apparently Jason dumped her the moment he realized she was unemployed, broke, and basically homeless. Guess the fairy lights and charcuterie boards weren't enough to keep him around once the novelty wore off. Karma's poetic, isn't it? I figured that was the end of it. Story closed. Dust settled. But Sienna, no. Sienna wasn't done humiliating herself. A few days after she left, my phone buzzed. "Lexi, hey," she said casually. A little too casually. "Just checking in. Wanted to see how you're doing." That's when I knew something was off. Lexi doesn't do random check-ins, not unless there's drama brewing. So I said, "Did Sienna send you?" There was this pause on the other end long enough to answer my question before she said anything. Then she sighed. "Yeah, kind of." I leaned back in the chair. "All right, let's have it." Lexi didn't hold back. "Okay, so apparently Sienna had been planning your breakup for months, telling everyone, friends, family, people from her old job, that she was about to take over the house and finally live the life she deserved." I snorted. take over my house." Lexi let out a breathy laugh. "Yeah, she made it sound like she was escaping some nightmare. Said you were controlling, that you barely let her have a voice, that she made the house a home, and she deserved to stay." At that, I actually had to put the phone down for a second because I was laughing so hard. What work? What home? This woman didn't vacuum. She couldn't even be bothered to pick up her dog's poop half the time. I did the repairs. I paid every bill. I even built the custom shelves in the living room that she now called her book nook. I picked the phone back up. Did she ever happen to mention that the house is legally mine? Lexi laughed quietly. Nope. She just assumed you'd leave. And if you didn't, she said she'd figure it out, whatever that means. Oh, Sienna, I muttered. Sweet, delusional Sienna. Lexi continued, her tone shifting a little. And there's more. She already told people she was finally free. Said, you were holding her back. She actually started planning a housewarming party. I blinked. In my house, Lexi winced. Yeah. She even sent out a few invites before everything went down. Said it would be a fresh start in her space. The audacity. Lexi got quiet for a second, then added something that actually did get under my skin. She's also been downplaying what you did. Told people you barely covered bills. That she was the one holding everything together while you played house. I clenched my jaw. She really said that multiple times. I sat there in silence. I could feel the anger bubbling up. Not the hot, irrational kind, but the quiet, focused kind. The kind that sharpens you, refineses you. Because this was more than just petty lies. This was her rewriting history, trying to destroy my reputation with the same hands that once asked me to zip up her dress and help her prep for job interviews. She bit the hand that clothed her, that fed her, that paid her damn cell phone bill. Lexi said gently, I just thought you should know. I didn't want you to hear it from someone else. I appreciate it, I said. Really? I hung up and sat there staring at the wall for a while. At first, I thought maybe I'd let it go. She was gone. The house was peaceful again. I had every reason to just move on and pretend she never existed, but then I thought about every insult she whispered behind my back. Every person she manipulated into seeing me as the villain. Every lie she told to make herself feel like the hero of some sad made-up story. Years of emotional manipulation, years of freeloading, now this smear campaign. No, I wasn't letting it slide. So, I decided if Sienna wanted to play games, I'd hit her where it hurt the most. Her ego, and not with screaming matches or revenge stunts. No, that's her style. Mine. Quiet, surgical precision. First, I sent a group message. Nothing dramatic, just calm, clear, and full of receipts. Our mutual friends have been fed so many half-truths and straight-up lies. I figured it was time someone passed around a little reality. Hey everyone, just wanted to clear the air since I've heard a few things floating around. The house fully in my name, the bills, all me every month, no help. Any claim that Sienna built this life with me? Fiction. Here are a few documents just to back that up. I attach screenshots of the mortgage statements. My name right there month after month. Old utility bills. And just for dramatic effect, a photo of the deed with my signature on it. Clean, professional, no commentary, just truth. Then I took it a step further. There was a pile of her junk still sitting in the back room. The vanity she had to have but never used. The decorative shelving that looked like it belonged in a college dorm. And of course, the infamous ring light she left behind when she sprinted out the door like it was on fire. I called a local charity that helps furnish homes for women starting over after tough situations. I told them I had a whole bunch of lightly used stuff I'd be thrilled to donate. The volunteers came by that weekend. One of them, a woman maybe in her 50s, walked through the living room and smiled. This will help someone a lot, she said. New beginnings mean everything. Yeah, I replied. Watching them carry out her furniture, they really do. After that, there was one more thing I needed to do. Not for revenge, just for closure. I called her parents. Her mom answered, Ryan, oh sweetie, is everything okay? That question hit different. She was always warm with me, even when Sienna wasn't. I almost felt guilty. I just wanted to share some things, I said, careful with my tone. Not everything, but enough. You deserve to know the truth. I told them about the lies she'd been spreading, the manipulation, how she told people she owned the house, that I was barely contributing, that she was the victim. There was a long pause. Then her dad spoke. Stern, disappointed. She told us, "You were becoming unstable, that you were the one mistreating her." I let out a soft laugh. I figured she would. Her mom exhaled shakily. "Ryan, I'm so sorry. We had no idea she was doing this." "None. You always treated her so well." Her dad cleared his throat. "If she ran up bills or caused damage, you let me know. I'll cover it." I shook my head. "I'm not calling for money. I just wanted you to know the truth. That's all." They thanked me again and again, and I hung up. That weight on my chest, a little lighter now. But then came the cherry on top. A few weeks later, I walked into my favorite coffee shop, just planning to grab a cappuccino and maybe do some reading. And there he was, Jason, the guy Sienna left me for. The bold, artsy, espresso-sipping soulmate who thought he was stealing some dream girl. He spotted me and paused, hesitated. Then, to his credit, he walked over. "Ryan," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Hey, do you have a second?" I nodded slowly. "Sure. I wanted to apologize. I didn't know the full story." She told me you two were splitting up, that the house was like shared property. She made it sound like you were already moving on. I raised an eyebrow. She say anything about the bills? The fact she hadn't paid rent in over a year? His face reened. "No, none of that." He paused, shifted on his feet. "She's not doing great. Actually, she's living out of her car right now. She called me last week, wanted to come stay with me again." I said no. I blinked. "She's living in her car." Jake nodded. "Yeah, I guess most of her friends aren't really talking to her now. Word got around, and her parents apparently they're not exactly opening the door either." He looked genuinely guilty. "I just wanted to say sorry, man. I didn't know who I was getting involved with." I looked at him for a long second, then shrugged. "Yeah, well, now you do." He nodded and left. I got my coffee and sat down by the window, watching the world move like it always does, peacefully, silently. And I'll be honest, I don't wish homelessness on anyone, not even Sienna. But in this case, I can't say I feel too bad. She made her bed, or in this case, her back seat, and now she's lying in it. I hadn't thought about her in a couple of weeks. Life was moving again. Quiet mornings, clean rooms, no drama. It was almost peaceful until last week when I was having lunch with my brother Nate at this little Thai spot we like. Halfway through our meal, I noticed him acting off. Shifty. He kept glancing at his phone, checking his messages like he was waiting for some bomb to drop. I set my fork down and raised an eyebrow. "All right," I said. "What's going on?" He hesitated, cleared his throat. Then he hit me with the worst preamble known to man. "Don't be mad." "Jesus, Nate, what did you do?" He looked at me with this sheepish, almost guilty expression and finally said, "Sienna reached out to me last week." I nearly choked on my iced tea. "What?" "Yeah," he said, holding his hands up like he was expecting me to throw something. "Out of the blue, said she needed help." I sat back in the booth, already feeling my pulse pick up. "Help? What kind of help?" Nate rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, apparently she's been telling people there was some sort of verbal agreement between you two, that you were basically common law married or something, and that she contributed significantly to the house." I blinked. "That's ridiculous. She never paid rent. She never even paid the internet bill on time." "I know," he said quickly. "I know, but she spun it all into this sob story, said she's homeless now because of you, that you kicked her out and left. Her with nothing after everything she gave to the relationship." I scoffed, shaking my head. "Unreal. Did you believe any of that?" Nate looked down at his coffee. She showed me screenshots like old Venmo payments for bills and stuff. But when I looked at them closely, most of them were made from your account. Exactly, I said. She used my card. She'd pay and make it look like it came from her, but I was the one funding it. She was playing house with my wallet. Nate nodded, clearly uncomfortable. I get that now. I really do. But in the moment, she seemed so convinced, like she believed it, said she just needed a little money to get back on her feet, to fight for what's rightfully hers. I narrowed my eyes. How much did you give her? He mumbled it into his coffee. What? 2,000. My jaw dropped. You gave her $2,000. Nate, are you out of your mind? I know, he said quickly. But wait, let me show you something. He pulled out his phone and opened up their text thread. He handed it to me across the table. At first, I wasn't sure I wanted to read it, but curiosity got the better of me. I scrolled through their conversation and slowly something shifted. My initial fury turned into something else. Maybe admiration because my brother, sweet, dependable Nate, wasn't just tossing cash into the void. He'd made her sign a formal IOU, full name, signature, amount, repayment schedule, interest rate. He even got her to agree in writing to put her car up as collateral. I looked up at him, stunned. Wait, you actually made her sign a contract? He nodded like it was no big deal. Yeah, I told her it was the only way I'd even consider helping. She didn't hesitate. Seemed desperate to prove she was serious. I let out a low whistle. You really did all this just in case? Nate shrugged, half a smirk on his face. I knew she was full of it, but I also knew she was spiraling, so I figured, if she's willing to sign over her car for $2,000, that tells you something. Plus, he leaned in a little. I figured having a signed document showing she had to borrow money might come in handy later. I could have hugged Nate right then and there. My little brother, always the quiet one, the peacemaker. Turns out he was, playing chess while Sienna was out here flipping checkers with acrylic nails. I sat back in the booth, shaking my head, half laughing. You really got her to sign over her car? I said, still staring at his phone. She practically tripped over herself doing it, he said, sipping his coffee. Desperate people don't read fine print. Damn, I muttered. Remind me to never borrow money from you. He smirked. I only pull out the paperwork for manipulative exes. I grinned and tapped the edge of my glass to Nate, king of the passive-aggressive trap. But hold on, the story gets better. That same evening, while I was unwinding on the couch with a beer and a rerun of Brooklyn 999, I got a ping from Mila, our mutual friend. Mila was the first person to warn me something was off with Sienna before the breakup. She never liked her, but she played nice for my sake. Now apparently she had receipts. You need to see this. Her message read, attached were a string of screenshots from Sienna's latest social media crusade. I scrolled. My jaw nearly hit the floor. Sienna had rebranded herself again, this time as the tragic heroine in a melodrama of betrayal. And who was the villain? Yours truly. According to her, I had spent 6 years of her life draining her creativity, stealing her light, and manipulating her into supporting me emotionally, spiritually, and financially, all while I plotted to steal her future success. Success from what exactly? The online resin jewelry store that never launched, the YouTube channel with 4 videos and 23 subscribers, the manifestation coaching page she built on Wix and forgot about after 2 weeks. And don't even get me started on the vegan food truck phase. I laughed out loud. Used her for her future money. I muttered, that's a new one. Mila's next message came through as I was still scrolling. She's telling different versions of the story to everyone. Zach's been tracking it. I texted Zach immediately. He's one of those guys who's always quietly tuned into everything, a walking satellite dish. Give him a whisper and a Reddit thread, and he'll have the whole backstory mapped out by lunchtime. 5 minutes later, he called me. Bro, he said without even saying hello. She's spiraling. She's told at least 4 people completely different versions of the breakup. Hit me, I said, switching the call to speaker. To one group, you were controlling, emotionally abusive, wouldn't let her be herself. That's rich, I muttered. She once screamed at me in a Whole Foods because I bought non-organic bananas. Zach laughed, To another group, she says you were lazy and aimless, and she supported you through your dark times. Does she not remember the time she had a meltdown because a brand followed me on Instagram before they followed her? Wait, it gets better. Zach continued to a couple of people. She's claiming you guys had a business partnership that you sabotaged. I blinked. A what? Yep. Says you promised to go in 50-50 on her content creation studio or something. Even claimed you were going to put her name on the deed to the house as a birthday gift, and then you revoked it out of spite. I barked out a laugh. That's hilarious. She forgot my birthday one year because she was too busy rehearsing a TikTok dance with a ring light and no pants on. I believe it, Zach said dry. Anyway, I'm compiling the posts, screenshots, everything just in case she tries something bigger. Appreciate it, man. I hung up, still stunned. I opened Instagram and found one of the posts Mila had screenshotted. There she was, Sienna, leaning against a brick wall with an exaggerated look of melancholy, some quote about surviving narcissists in the caption. The comments were full of heart emojis and affirmations from people who didn't know the first thing about what actually happened. I should have just let it go. But then last night, I got a string of messages from her. No greeting, just straight into the theatrics. You think you won? You think this is over? You can't keep hiding. Everyone will know what you really are. I'm not afraid to tell the truth anymore. I didn't reply. Just read them quietly while brushing my teeth. Honestly, it was almost funny. What secrets did she think she had? I'm the one who knows she tried to mint an NFT collection of stick figure cats with glitter backgrounds. I'm the one who covered for her when she told everyone she was shooting high-end pet portraits, but was really borrowing my DSLR to take awkward pictures of her cousin's Pomeranian in baby clothes. I haven't responded to a single message, but I've saved everyone. Screenshots, dates, timestamps, all of it. Because something tells me this isn't over. Sienna's never been good at accepting reality. And now that she's burned through Nate's money, probably on another doomed side hustle, I'm sure she's cooking up some new plan to try and get what she thinks she's owed. So last Sunday, I'm at the grocery store, halfway through my usual weekend. Routine. Cart loaded with the essentials, mentally debating between almond butter or peanut. When I turned a corner a little too fast and bam, literally bumped into someone. My cart jerked to a halt, and before I could even say anything, I looked. Up and there he was, Sienna's dad. "Mr. Gray," I said, trying to keep my tone even. I offered a polite smile and instinctively shifted my cart to the side, hoping to slide past without awkwardness. But he didn't move. Instead, he reached out and grabbed the edge of my cart. "We need to talk," he said, voice low, eyes tense. That stopped me cold. Now, I've always liked the guy. Even after everything went down with Sienna, he never said a harsh word to me. He kept his distance, sure, but respectful. But this felt different. There was something in his eyes. Worry, definitely, but also anger. Okay, I said slowly. "What's going on? Can we sit?" he asked. "Grab a coffee." It wasn't really a request, not with that tone. I hesitated for a second, glanced toward the frozen food aisle, then nodded. "Yeah, sure." A few minutes later, we were sitting outside the Starbucks, just inside the store entrance. 2 paper cups between us, traffic sounds humming through the glass. He let out a long, heavy sigh and looked me dead in the eye. "I need to tell you what Sienna's been up to," he said. "This has gone too far." I blinked. "Okay." "She showed up at our house last week," he began completely out of the blue. "Said she needed to talk about you in the house." "Oh no," I muttered already, bracing myself. "She said," he continued, shaking his head slowly, "that she was building a legal case to get the house back. That you tricked her into putting all the bills in your name so you could claim ownership. Said she gave you cash for the down payment and had proof." I let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Cash? She once Venmo'd me $7.34 and made me pay her back, in exact change." He didn't laugh, just stared into his cup. I told her to stop right there, reminded her firmly that your name's been on the house since day one. You bought that place before she moved in. We were there. I saw the paperwork and I asked, even though I could guess. She didn't care, kept going. Said it was all part of some master plan of yours to silence her. He made air quotes with a pained expression, then asked to borrow money. Said she needed it to set things right. I exhaled slowly. Let me guess. You said no. Of course we did, he said. That's when she completely snapped. Started yelling that we've never believed in her dreams, accused us of siding with you, said we were abandoning our own daughter. He looked down at the table for a beat. She's not the girl I raised, he murmured. I don't know who she's become. That hit harder than I expected. Before I could respond, he looked back up and added, and there's more stuff I think you should know. Okay. He leaned in slightly. She told her little brother you'd bought her out of the house months ago. That's why she needed money to renovate her property. He's 19. Ryan's still in college, still looks up to her, and he gave her all his savings. I clench my jaw. Jesus. She's been doing the same with our family. One story for each person, depending on who she's talking to. You were secretly married. You promised her the house in exchange for her sweat equity. Her words told her grandma you were holding her laptop hostage. I blinked. You mean the gaming laptop I donated to the youth center? That one? He confirmed, dry. She told Nana, you refused to give it back and deleted all her files out of spite. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my face with one hand. This is unhinged. Wait, he said, already pulling out his phone. You haven't seen the worst part. He tapped a few times and turned the screen toward me. It was a GoFundMe page. The header image was an old photo of her smiling in front of my house, the one I took, ironically, back when she was trying to start a home decor Instagram. The title, Help Local Woman Reclaim Her Home from Manipulative Ex. I nearly choked on my coffee. I stared at the GoFundMe page on Mr. Gay's phone, trying to make sense of what I was looking at. In the description, it was a twisted work of fiction. She says I manipulated her into putting everything in my name. I read aloud that she invested her life savings into the house. What savings? She once used quarters from her car console to buy iced coffee. Mr. Gray let out a short, bitter laugh. I know. She posted pictures. I continued scrolling, claimed she'd done all these renovations herself. The only renovation she ever did was rearranging throw pillows when she was avoiding updating her resume. He nodded grimly. The worst part? People were donating. I looked at him incredulous. You're kidding. Not a lot, he said. Maybe $800 before I reported it, but enough to make her think she was winning. I shook my head, somewhere between disbelief and the kind of laughter you do when you're too tired to be mad. Unreal. She needs to face reality, he said, quiet but firm. I had to do something. Then he dropped the next bomb. She's still sleeping in her car in our driveway. What? I blinked. She refuses to come inside unless we agree to support her cause. Every morning she drives off, says she's got meetings about getting the house back. Every night she comes back with some new story about progress she's made. One night she said she had a lawyer from New York lined up. The next it was some internet group fighting home theft. She's spinning in circles. I was speechless. She even called Jordan. He added, try to get him to be a character witness. I coughed out a half laugh. Jordan, the guy who once bailed on her birthday dinner because she made him sign a friendship contract. Mr. Gray cracked the faintest smile. He laughed and hung up on her. I leaned back, staring at the wall like it might offer some sort of clarity. This is wild, even for her. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad for her, he said. More serious now. I'm telling you because I want you to be prepared. She's not going to stop until she hits a wall, and that wall might be you. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled something out. Small, worn, held together by the kind of tape that said it had been around a while. A photo album. What's this? I asked. He slid it across the table, Something I should have looked at more closely. Open it. I flipped it open. Photos, dozens of them. Holidays, birthdays, family BBQs, lazy Sundays, and in every single one, there she was, Sienna. But not really there. In one picture, her younger cousins were playing board games on the floor while Sienna sat on the couch, face lit by her laptop screen. In another, she stood off to the side at a 4th of July party, scrolling on her phone while everyone else watched fireworks. Even in group shots, she always seemed elsewhere, distracted, performing, always working on her next big thing. He said quietly, when really she was just spinning ideas, building castles in the air, while everyone else lived their lives. I turned. A few more pages, the pit in my stomach growing heavier. I should have seen it sooner, he said. How she used people, how there was always an angle. We just kept hoping she'd grow out of it. He looked at me with this raw, honest expression. Father to fatherless, human to human. I enabled her for too long, and I'm sorry you got caught up in it. I tried to slide the album back across the table, but he pushed it gently toward me. Keep it, he said. Maybe someday she'll want to see the person she used to be. But for now, I need to do what I should have done years ago. I didn't say anything, just listened. He went on. We're changing the locks, cutting off her access to the Wi-Fi. No more driveway, no more pretending this is just a phase. Her aunt in Colorado offered her a job, a real one. No computers, no Instagram, just work, office hours, steady paycheck, a fresh start. He paused, looked at me again, firm. She either takes the offer or figures it out on her own. But we're done watching her try to tear down other people's lives, because she refuses to build her own. We stood to leave. He put a hand on my shoulder and then unexpectedly hugged me. One of those deep, weary hugs that says more than words ever could. Thank you, he whispered, for showing her there are consequences. I just wish she'd learned from them. I stood there in the entrance of the store as he walked away, album in hand, heart somewhere in my shoes. I felt relief. Finally, someone else saw what I saw. But underneath that was something else. Sadness. Sadness for the person she could have been. Life looks a lot different now. Better, lighter, quieter, in all the right ways. I've got a new girlfriend, Mara. We met at a dog park. Of all places, I was trying to wrangle my 2 French bulldogs, Gus and Olive, who decided the muddiest part of the field was the perfect spot for a wrestling match. She laughed, helped me clean them up, and we ended up talking until the sun went down. First, about dogs, then books, then everything. She's kind, steady, the kind of person who doesn't make a scene or a scheme. She just shows up every time. And Gus and Olive, they're basically my world. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one with a camera roll full of dog pics and matching raincoats for his pups, but here we are. I started posting regularly on Instagram a few months back. It started with just pictures of the dogs in ridiculous poses. Gus with his head stuck in a tree jar. Olive sitting like a grumpy queen on the couch. Then one day, I made a little reel of them chasing bubbles in the backyard. Added a funny voiceover, and people loved it way more than I expected. So I started a whole channel, Bulldog and Company. It's mostly just my 2 little gremlins living their best lives. Dog park adventures, spa days, aka me brushing their fur while they look offended. Training fails, food reviews, they're brutally honest, and the occasional cameo from Mara, who's now affectionately referred to as the snack lady by my followers. It's silly, but it's fun and weirdly healing. There's something about dogs. They don't care about drama or image or who said what. They care if you're there, if you're kind, if you have treats, and maybe that's what I needed most. A reminder that joy doesn't have to be complicated. It can look like muddy paws on clean floors, unexpected kisses, and a quiet night in with someone who makes you feel safe. I don't post about the past. No, need to. I'm not hiding it, but I'm not carrying it either. Right now, I'm just focusing on the life in front of me. And honestly, it's pretty damn good. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget, to like, share, and subscribe.